So Ike, um, welcome to the Nerdy Basement. Thank you for giving us your time. Like that we can go ahead and interview you today and talk about the film Squeal. How are you doing today? Do you feel good about your film as well?
I'm a bit jet lagged because yesterday I arrived to LA and I just it's the first morning and Emma make me to work now.
So so my first question for you, Ike. So tell us about the film Squeal. What sparked the idea behind it?
I just want to tell a very soft and lightning story about how love makes us to forget about the freedom and I've been developing this idea since 2012, and initially it was an idea to make a modern western in some Peckinpah style, and then I it transformed to something very different, and it's been a while. I was living with this idea, and I wrote a treatment like 10 years, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. Then I left it and I came back just a few years ago from 2018. We started to write it and I found a
Hmm.
co-writer and we started to write together. And and so last year in June we completed the film and the movie was ready. So it's been very fast actually process, and despite the COVID all these restrictions, we managed to finish the film. Yeah.
That's amazing. So I did notice that your previous work, you have been directing and being part you're the main writer of your previous films. How did it feel collaborating with Alexander with Squeal? Because I have noticed that in your previous work you just, you it's been you. So how was that shift of changing to having a collaborator?
Unfortunately, I wrote the script for my films alone, and if you want to be a writer, you must write all the time. It's not only about directing. If you write only to direct a film, it's I understand that it's not a good way how to do it. It's like a sport. If you write all the time, you are a writer. If you write for other directors, you are a writer. If you are writing for yourself, you are a writing director. And my decision after my third film, Firstborn, was like I don't want to spend time on writing. I don't like this process so much. And if you are writing a screenplay, it means that you need like a year to do it. And alone, it's like a big torture to finish a script. And but when you are writing with someone else, it becomes much easier and funnier. And for script also, it's much better when there are two brains involved in the process. And Alexander was one of my favorite screenplays in Russia, and when I had a chance to choose a writer, he was number one because I seen few films, and I loved his ideas and his uh, brave kind of approach to the material, and he fitted to his idea perfectly.
Okay, that's amazing. Yeah, I did see in the film there's like very there's a lot of like themes and little messages that you want to send out. Uh and it's really interesting behind what you wanted to present in this film, and I got to give kudos to the writing from both of you and Alexander. So this film is a dark comedy. Tell us more about the approach to the aspect of the storytelling of Squeal.
Uh, the approach was very simple: to make a comedy without jokes, and it was the main challenge in terms of a genre. And that is why I don't like so much when people call it like a dark comedy. I like more like a modern fairy tale, just a fairy tale, but it could be also dark comedy. Because when you tell to the audience it's a dark comedy, people are waiting for jokes, and this is not kind of film when you can see or hear or wait for gigs or some I don't know jokes. So one of the reasons was to find a precise tone for a film, how to tell the story, because the story could be told also as a horror film, as a thriller, as a crime story, or whatever. Here we wanted to find the right tone of a story. It shouldn't be serious, but it should be told in a serious way. So it was like the main challenge, and I think in comedy it works when you do it with a very serious approach, when the actors or the author, they don't joke or make fun like in a way that, hey, look at us, now I'm going to make a joke. No, we wanted to make it very serious and nobody jokes. And actually during the shooting also the actors, we never spoke about the funny moments, never ever. And it's a good sign for me, because when everyone is having fun on a shooting, nobody will see it on the screen.
Okay. I completely understand because in comedy films you do expect a character to have like that punchline, and then the secondary character continues the joke. And here you don't see that. You see like the the I would say that the jokes are there, but the delivery is very different in regards to how audiences are like accommodated in comedy genre films. So wanted to see, because the film does shift the general tropes at this time around, has a male figure as the captive. So often we see female protagonists as the damsel in distress or the one being kidnapped or held hostage. Are you able to expand the seemingly unusual change of having, a male protagonist being like, the one that's being hostage and captive?
uh, I think it's a very I didn't want to dive into these events in the film to make a film about the guy who has been captured, and we are just like Soul film, or I don't know, or Cloverfield. If you remember, there was a film with John Goodman, villain who captured two or three girls in a basement. It wasn't an intention. It's just a trigger, and that
Okay.
is why I think the movie works very well. But in the first half, we are expecting to see a guy who is looking for something for his father, for example, like in this film. And when he get captured, we go, okay, it's going to be like a brutal horror film. And then in the middle of the film, he escapes, and we understand, okay, it's not a film about that. It's something very different. It's about exactly how was an original title of film, Samuel's Travel. It's about his journey
Okay.
to something, but he's looking for one thing, but he comes to a more important point.
Okay. Yeah, that's so that yeah, because I did notice that inside your film you do have like somebody narrating his thoughts and the story as well. So it was really interesting seeing that. You don't see that much having a narrator behind your character. So for my experience, I did saw it like a little fresh taste of like, okay, you can have what you see and think one thing, and then the narrator goes ahead and says like, no, this is not what's going on, and then you keep on like putting puzzle pieces in your mindset of what the film is. So, what was the most difficult aspect of filming with animals? Were they trained, or did you guys have to do any type of adjustment throughout the filming process of Squeal?
We had for Piglet. character, we had three piglets, three animals, and they were bought before the shooting, 3 months before the shooting, and we had a coach who worked with piglets for 3 months. It means they should understand where to come, where to stand. It was the most challenging stuff. And other pigs were just brought on the set, and we are just living together. We made we made them a week to live together before the shooting to get to used to each other, and actually they are very smart. And I remember we were shooting like after first second take they understood what to do. They have good memory, and so it was a crucial point to make them to live together, to get to used to each other and to trust to each other. And but most challenging for me it was working with human beings, not with animals. Animals is just animals. Of course it's not so easy, but you understand these are the animals, and you need to you accept some uncomfortable kind of process what you need to struggle with. So it wasn't a big problem for me. Animals, of course, technically it was hard, for example, to bring them to the forest, to the woods. It was the most challenging one for us. Yeah, but to not to get lost, not to lose them in the woods. But they were very smart. They were like keeping together all the time, and they understand that they can survive only if they will keep together. So for me, I was afraid. We were very aware of the scenes in the forest, actually in the woods, that it will be like a big problem, but actually it wasn't a big problem.
All right, you did mention there was was it difficult working with the actors throughout the filming of Squeal? Do you have any experience that you can give us today?
That was for me as a director. For me, was a biggest experience to work with the two actors. Which one of them, Kevin Janssens, he's a very well. He's a very experienced film actor, and there is Laura, who was a Kirke. She's experienced theater actor, but for her it was a first film,
Okay.
and they were like a two very kind of different approach how you are going to speak. Of course, with Laura I spoke more when than with Kevin, but Laura is very smart actress. She asked me questions, and she didn't, and she wasn't afraid to show to me her unconfidence in some things that she wasn't so confident. And she asked me, yeah, and it was very for me as a director. For me, it was a good lesson that you can't speak with all actors in the same language. Each one is a personality, and you need to know them very well and to find an approach how to speak with them. There are kind of factors when you need to be very tough. There are some kind of factors that you need to be very nice. It's like depends on the personality.
Okay. So I wanted to know if you could elaborate a little bit more because you did mention previously that the film had another title, and then you have now Squeal, and as well Piglet. What was the? Can you elaborate us more in regards to the title and what was Piglet's like role throughout the film?
This was U.S. distributors' decision to change the title. Initially, it was a Samuel's Travels, which is a reference to Preston Sturges' film Sullivan's Travels, and I thought that it would be like a good inner joke. But then U.S. distributors they suggest me that other titles, and we together we choose the Squeal, and this was their decision to put in the title the piglet point. You know that there is a pig, and somehow to emphasize this thing. But also, I think it's a good point for a main character who's been captured, and he sometimes also squeals in the film, and I think it's like a good reference.
No, yeah, I did notice that there's like a certain portion of the film that you do see like like I would say a transformation of how our main character goes from your regular foreigner to being captive to being the animal and then going back to being the foreigner once again. It was really interesting on how everything was made throughout the film and the storytelling inside of it, and it was really interesting. It was an interesting take. So
Thank you.
how does this film Squeal vary from all of your other projects that you have done before?
Genre, I've never made a fairy tale animal with animals and the comedy, ironical, and I did it before in theater and operas, in opera productions, but never in films. And I'm very satisfied about the result, and I don't know if I'm going to make another comedy, but who knows? Maybe I will. But definitely, it's a very special film in my filmography because it's a very different film. It's a very different film, and this is my point as director. Actually, that I think that I love directors who are making very different kind of films, but they're not trying to make one film a whole life. You know, there are some kind of painters who are like painting one apple or one tree whole life. There are
Yeah.
like painters who are different portraits, landscapes, and etc. And I would be bored if I would make a one film a whole life. For example, Wes Anderson, he's like making the one film a whole life. He's a great director, but I don't want to make a one film. I like, there's why I love Spielberg or Soderbergh kind of approach that they are trying to be very well, Paul Thomas Anderson. They are trying to make very different kind of films, and I adore because it's very hard to do it. When you are making one film or one genre, you have all each film becomes like a better because you know very well what to do. But you are making a different kind of films. So yeah, I would try to make different films.
So, going back to the filming process and being on set, most of this was shot on the location that we see throughout the whole film,
Yes.
or did you change locations now and then?
No, we have shot in a one location, the whole things in a house, in the barn, in the yard, everywhere. Yeah, it was a one
Okay.
bar.
Was it difficult to find the location that it was very accessible for what you wanted to create?
It was my location manager's gift to us because I remember we were like traveling around and we couldn't find anything good what she suggested to us. It didn't fit to our film and story. And this location was the last one. She was very desperate because we didn't like anything, and this one was like a perfect location for film. And also the owners were very bizarre people, and this location also was like located in nowhere, like it's in the forest, in the woods. I don't know how she found it.
Yeah, I actually got to say the tone of the film and what you wanted to show us, that location was phenomenal. I really
Yeah,
do got to
yeah.
say that. So my next final question for you would be, what's next for you? Do you have any upcoming projects that you would like to promote? The floor is yours.
I'm finishing a film, a very low budget film about family and insects, how they are fighting with insects, and this battle transforms into the battle with each other. We are now in sound design and all this post production process. I hope in October it will be finished, and I hope that some good festivals, especially in US, would be interested in film. And another one, I'm here in LA also because I have another project which is based on my one of the previous films. So I'm planning here to meet some through my agents and managers to meet some producers to pitch the idea.
That's great. So I really do want to give you kudos. Squeal is really great. The tone, the editing, I really did like that the film has different aspects of different genres, but you maintain that front of what you wanted to present us. So thank you very, very much for
Yeah,
your
thank you,
time
Jeff.
today. And
Thank
I
you.
hope that when the film releases, or when more people get to see it, that all those positive feedbacks come your way for your future upcoming projects. So thank
Yeah,
you very
please,
much.
please leave your rates and reviews on Letterboxd, IMDb, or on so pages. I would be very grateful. Thank you.
No, I will be the next one to leave you your review. So thank you very much for your time today and for this interview.
Thank you, John.